Hey guys, Malc, fat kid here. So we saw Pain and Gain.
One of those two words is true.
Yes. So the story of Pain and Gain. Mark Wahlberg plays a character who is essentially, bye Natty, who's essentially trying to make money. It's essentially the best way I could put it.
He's
It's
not really trying to make money.
No. He's trying to find the American dream. It's essentially a Scarface of today. Now, I'm gonna make one. I'm gonna make sure this one point does get mentioned right off. You look at the commercials. You think it's a comedy.
Yeah.
You think it's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna be like Weekend at Bernie's, except Monk is kidnapped and he's being.
Here's the biggest curveball of all, but you'd think you would see on the trailer, it's based on a true story.
Shocker number one. I did not know. This
Right?
legitimately happened. In fact, they do show in the credits the actual people who did this. So yeah, this legit happened.
Although, I don't know what it is, but most of the true stories I see that they make into some movies, it's really ridiculous. like to no end. One thing I never understood about true stories is when three of the people that you know are not telling everybody exactly what happened, are hanging out together. Like, how is a story actually being told? Like, this is exactly what happened when these two guys were alone in this area. No one else is around but these two guys. This is exactly what went through their heads and what they actually planned out. I'm pretty sure they didn't sit there and go, "Okay, guys, you guys are making this movie on us. Here's all the information you want to know."
Yeah, and plus with the based on a true story, I've seen it's the whole actual story could have been they tried to rob a liquor store and they accidentally shot a guy. Hey, but then Michael Bay gets a hold of it. He decides to blow it up. Number one, even though I did laugh at a few times throughout the movie, I really can't categorize this as a comedy. In fact, it's actually pretty, like that whole scene with Monk where he's kidnapped, Tony Shalhoub, for those who want me to be specific, where he's kidnapped and he's sort of being, he is being extorted out of money. He's being legit tortured into doing this. It's a lot of times this movie ain't pretty. In fact, it's kind of jarring because one moment they're being goofballs to each other, then they kidnap Tony Shalhoub and they start torturing him. And then the next minute, you got some goofball antic once again with The Rock, like when they're trying to kidnap him and they get the wrong car.
Now, I don't, you don't really understand if this is exactly how these people act or stuff. I mean, some of the way the acting is in it, Mark Wahlberg's character is pretty much like the brains of the operation. Yeah. I've seen one of the quotes is, I've seen a lot of movies. I know how to do this. I don't know how many times you've done this with your friends, and when your friend's like, "I got a great idea. I seen it in a movie," and it's like, do I really want to go on with this? But because you're friends, you do it anyways. You kind of get the feeling like that's what happens in this movie.
Yeah, I will give this movie and Michael Bay credit. This legit feels like three friends got together and said, "Yeah, we could do this. We could."
Yeah, three friends that are really off the deep end.
Mm.
But no, I mean the acting between all the three people, you felt the chemistry of the friendship. The friendship between The Rock's character and Mark Wahlberg's character develops really, really quickly, almost instantaneously. So it's kind of hard to see that really happening in real life, where people instantly click when they first meet. But of course it's a movie, so you don't have the time frame of real life where you could sit there and take the time and go through the whole scenario of how they met and everything that built up to where they trust each other this much to go out there and do this.
Yeah, I will give that too, and we could segue right into the cast here. I really did buy it when they meet, and Mark Wahlberg starts working his magic, and before you know it, he has this little posse that's helping him. Speaking of Wahlberg, what did you think of him in this movie?
I liked him. he's got this character in comedy movies. Again, we don't know. I wouldn't say this is a comedy movie, but like him and The Rock were on another movie before this, The Other Guys, and his character from The Other Guys is kind of like how his character is in this one, in a way where he's smart, but there's that sense of stupidity beyond belief in it. And he pulls it off so well. I mean, he's pulls off a lot of action movies and stuff like that, and you can really trust him. But when he does these comedies, he's got this like genius in him when it comes to like playing the smart but like stealthy stupidness.
Yeah, he does a great job of, despite the fact that he's in over his head, the motivations of the character where he's kind of Tony Montana. He wants the big piece of the pie, and this is the way to do it right here. So he convinces his three compatriots. I keep thinking Bill Bellamy, but what was his name? We just looked it up.
I don't remember.
Oh.
But yeah,
him and The Rock, they get together, and they all get together, and essentially it is kidnap the guy, get him to sign over everything to them, and then they'll live like kings. And very much like Scarface, it has its rise and then the fall part. And the fall, it's pretty gruesome where it goes, and despite that, there are some funny moments, and that takes us right to Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson is the best thing about this movie, in my opinion.
Well, that has to come down to the scripting too. The script made him that good. He's a good actor. Don't get me wrong, but his character in this one was like his character in Get Shorty. The way he acted it.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not the same as that character in Basics. Like he's not trying to become a movie star and stuff like this, but the way he portrays it is kind of like, if you ever seen Get Shorty and you've seen The Rock in that, whenever he does in this movie, I swear is like based like towards a comedy, which is sad because if it's supposed to be based on a true story with all this horrific stuff happening, and they kind of gear it towards a comedy, it's kind of morbid.
Yeah, I do kind of slightly disagree with you. I think a lot of that is The Rock as far as his delivery. The Rock plays a character, the over-the-top born-again Christian who's sort of led astray to go with this whole thing. And his lines and delivery are actually really, really funny. It's just, if you were to take Dwayne Johnson out of the film, or I'll say his character completely out, this would be a stone-cold serious drama. I don't think it would be nearly as funny as it ended up being. Yeah.
But then again, like I said, the lines and stuff, that's all part of the script. His deliverance, yes, he's a great actor when it comes to deliverance, and he nails it. And he's pushing a lot more towards doing action movies now. And, he's a really good action hero and stuff. But it's nice to see him once in a while going back. I don't really want to see him, like, go full stream again, like he did where he was starting to do, like, the Disney movies and stuff like that. I like to see him the action Rock. And a couple of the other Rocks, but the main focus on action, because I think when he goes to focusing a lot on the action and then does the other parts, it really shows how much more acting, like, spectrum he has behind him.
Yeah, I mean, I forget what the name of the movie was. It was the one with John Travolta. What was it? Be Cool or something like that. But anyway.
Oh, Be Cool, not Get Shorty. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Be Cool. Be Cool to me proved
That's what I meant when I said his character was like that in Get Shorty.
Yes.
Be Cool is the sequel to Get Shorty.
Yes, where he plays the homosexual bodyguard, and for those, yes, that is an important description for that character. But yeah, that film to me proved that he can be a funny guy when he wants to, not just uber imposing Rock. And I was hoping to see some of that in this movie. And I did to some extent, but the fact that, people's toes are getting blown off and murder, and, it sort of takes away from the comedic environment. That's what sort of...
But, that's what I'm talking about. Like, this is based on a true story where, like, all this horrific stuff happens. And even when this stuff happens, it's like 2 seconds later, there's, like, an uplifting, like, comedy bit that's thrown in there.
It is the weirdest pacing you could give a film like this. It's like Michael Bay wasn't sure what he wanted the film to be.
But here's the problem. It's based on a true story. You can't, like, go, all right, guys, you know what? Here's a true story about this horrific incidents and everything that happens. But I really don't want to go that way with it. I kind of want to take it and go this way. But you can't do that with a true story.
It's like, yeah, the pacing was weird. The movie begins, and right off the bat, you realize this isn't a comedy at all. And, you know, I'm only saying this repeatedly because that's what the commercials told me it was going to be before we walk in. It's
right, that's exactly what I thought. Because you see them dressed up in, like, the
aliens.
The aliens, ninjas, right? And you see that and you think it's all a joke. And like I said before, they don't even let you know in the trailers that it's based on a true story.
Yeah, you thought it was going to be like a Pineapple Express type of comedy going on.
Right.
Yeah. But really, it isn't.
Another thing about this movie is, like, I have never heard, like, almost a whole soundtrack where they, like, go back in time and pull music back into movies. There's, like, a lot of songs in this movie that you've not heard of in a long time, and you're like, oh, wow, I remember that song.
Yeah, and there are also instances where they try to make a scene funny, and it really doesn't work. Like, they're trying to coerce Johnson to run a guy over with a car, and no, you can't make that. Once you see it, you'll understand fully. Once again, we're trying to avoid any spoilers, but you can't make that funny. You can't. It just comes off as really horrid is what it comes off as.
Right, and they do that a lot in this movie where, you know, just like the other guys, where they had, like, it's supposed to be, like, a really, like, serious scenes, and then it's, like, extreme, like, out of nowhere, like, really? That just happened?
Mm.
And I know we've talked about before that, you know, the other guys, you either like it or hate it.
Liked it.
I did not care for it. And I love stupid comedy, and Leslie Nielsen growing up was, like, one of my favorite actors. And, I mean, yeah, he's done, like, a lot of comedy stuff. He was also in, Tales from
Tales from the Creep Show, yes.
He's also in Creep Show, and he's really good at that, because it was, one of the first times I saw him. But I loved the stupid comedy he did. And I have not seen anybody who can, like, take that and go with it. But for some reason, I could not get behind the other guys. It was just, like, The Rock's character in it and Mark Wahlberg's character in it were just so, like, over, like, Samuel L. Jackson, The Rock, worst part of the whole movie. I don't know if you guys know this. It's a major spoiler, and I apologize. But it's the most stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Even more stupid than snakes on a plane. They're on the top of the building.
Which is also a good comedy when you think about it.
When they're on top of the building, and they're like, aim for the bushes. Now this is like a 17-story building.
That's the best part of the movie.
It is like the stupidest part of the movie. Because you're like led to believe that these two cops are like the best people in the world. And they're like these tough guys, and they go out there and they always catch their criminals, you know? And then they do this ridiculous, stupid thing. And you're like, I don't even understand where the process for this came.
I think they were just making fun of action movies in general. If you look like all the stuff John McClane and whatever.
No, that's fine. But it's not supposed to be a parody movie.
I think it kind of is. I mean, like, that one instance where they tried walking away from an explosion and it didn't work.
Anyways.
If you want us to review other guys, let us know in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to have this battle on an actual review.
But no, they had some like scenes from like the other guys where I just looked at it and I'm like, there's no like seamless like connection between that. And there's a lot of that in this where they're trying to force you into thinking that it's like this way when you realize in your head like this doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not supposed to be like, oh, ha-ha, or hee-hee. And I don't know why you take a true story and try to make it into a comedy.
And Bay also uses a lot of jarring special effects. Like you're just watching the film, all of a sudden this stylized background appears, and it says like, and it's The Rock, and it says "weak link," and he uses this like 3 times, and there's no rhyme or reason behind it.
Well, it does. It's trying to point out like what people are doing. Like there's a scene that's happening, and you're like, is he doing what I think he's doing? And then it comes up with like the whole thing happens again, and it's like still based on a true story, and you're like, oh yeah, this is based on a true story, because you look at this and you watch it and you don't believe it actually could be based on a true story, and the special effects in this, I mean, some of the gore part that they have happen was really cool. It's just some of the things they did with the gore part afterwards was ridiculous and far-fetched.
Definitely. I mean, the gore stuff, and of course, it has to get zany when they're getting.
And when we say gore, I'm not even like talking real gore. It's not even gore. It's like mishap, like blood. I wouldn't say it's gore. Like you're not gonna watch it and go, oh my god, it's like the most disgusting scene I've ever seen. No, it's nowhere near that.
No. If you want that kind of gore, go to see Evil Dead. Still the best movie we've reviewed so far.
I know, and I keep thinking the next one is gonna be like amazing. Like I'm like, I saw the previews for this. I thought this was gonna be a hilarious movie, and I was expecting like so much from this, and we go in there and it's like based on a true story. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and Mark Wahlberg, a lot of monologues going on in this movie. Kind of definitely hard to follow. Even like, I remember when it goes from Wahlberg, then it went to The Rock, and then it went to a stripper, and I was like, wait, really? She's a character? I thought that was a joke at first, but no, she turns out to be a main character.
Of course, you feel like she's mainly in there for eye candy, though.
It is Michael Bay.
Yeah. And it's just, for a true story, and you're watching this, I think because it's based on a true story, it makes it like worse of a movie than what it really is. I mean, because you go in there, if it wasn't based on a true story, and you saw this, you could kind of play some of it off. But when you see it's based on a true story, you kind of look at it like they're making fun of like people's tragedies.
Yeah, it's almost like 1,000 Ways to Die is in that aspect. All right, so let's get to the final verdict. What would you say as far as this movie?
I say this movie doesn't exactly know where it wanted to go. It doesn't know if it wants to be comedy. Doesn't want to know if it wants to be like true story. And I think, in my perspective, because it's based on a true story and they try to put comedy in it, I think it really demoralizes the idea of what actually happened to the people in this movie and in real life and what people went through. I think it really takes the suffering and stuff that the real people went through and really pokes fun at it, which is kind of like really bad to do. And I don't know how they got the rights to go ahead and tell these people stories in this manner. I don't know. You need to be dishing me out a lot of money if you're paying me to give you the rights for some of the characters.
It's Michael Bay. I'm sure he gave him some of that Transformers money, and he was like, "Here's a piece
Don't
of."
get me started on Transformers.
Oh, please don't ask us to review that. Would you recommend anyone see this? I mean, even if it's like a rental, or would you advise just skipping it?
It's not bad, but I don't want to recommend it because I don't like I said, the idea behind it is like it's based on a true story, but they're trying to turn it into a comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the same conundrum with my rating because I didn't hate this movie. I felt cheated because they told me it was a I felt the same way when I watched Burn After Reading, which I thought was a comedy, and then Brad Pitt is getting shot in the face. So, no, that wasn't a comedy either. But at the same time, I didn't hate it. I can't... I mean, I definitely don't recommend seeing this in theaters.
No.
It's... I would say, if you had to, I mean, The Rock's if it wasn't for The Rock's performance, I would say there was no redeeming quality.
Now let's look at this here. He's saying that The Rock made this movie. Many people in the world are saying that The Rock destroyed G.I. Joe. Is it true that Rock, taking the point of an action hero, sucks balls, but when he takes part of a character that's a moron and a church religious person, he rises to the cream of the crop and the stars? Are we saying that is The Rock?
In this instant, yeah. He was funny. He
was funny. He was. But I'm just saying, from the extremes, you got like everybody in the world who's like seen G.I. Joe, besides like a few. All I've heard was, The Rock is like smeared all over that movie, and he's not that great. And then you're talking about The Rock in this film that we both can't decide like where to place it because it doesn't know where to place itself. You're like, The Rock is the Rock of this movie. He is the pinnacle.
Yeah, you know what? That's really saying something now that I think about it. I mean, going back to it, the movie is so scatterbrained, I don't know what to categorize it. And the scary part is, it's probably going to get categorized as a comedy, just because that's what it was advertised with. Which I think is very misleading. You can't do that to people. And while the actors gave pretty solid performances, the fact that you're seeing such horrid things at the same time of it trying to be a comedy, I felt kind of ill laughing at it at times. So personally, I would say skip it. Definitely worst case scenario, red box it. But yeah, I think you'll live if you miss this one.
Yeah, definitely. The actors in it are great. They do a good job. But the story, the idea behind it, is just two opposites of what it should be. Like, you should never take a true story that has, like, people, being tortured, lives ruined, death, and try to turn it into a comedy. Only Hollywood believes that this is a good idea.
So that was our review. Once again, if you liked it, click like at the bottom. Leave a comment below. If you have a movie we'd like to review, trust us, we are keeping track of them, and we will be reviewing them very soon. And thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you next time.